Chapter 92. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Brunhilde's delicate face registered shock and confusion. Who was this guy stepping out from the human side? It wasn't Sakata Kintoki, the warrior she'd personally chosen to represent humanity. Kintoki was a legendary figure from the Heian period, famed for helping to slay the great monster Shuten Doji. While Shuten Doji was a yukai, he was practically a god, no ordinary foe. Defeating him showed Kintoki was an exceptional human, and that's why Brunhilde had selected him. But now, instead of Kintoki, some unknown Onmyoji was emerging. And her little sister was right there on the palanquin, sweetly feeding him. What was going on? Had her sister mixed up the fighters? Impossible. Brunhilde had given her a picture of the right guy. Looking closer, Brunhilde saw her sister didn't seem to be doing it willingly. She looked like she was being controlled. She grabbed her device and scanned him, trying to identify him. The system locked on, searching the Akasha database. In a split second, an info window popped up. The individual was... What the hell? Brunhilde exclaimed, a bit flustered. He was a human figure from the Heian era, and he was famous. No, notorious would be more accurate. A mage Onmyoji, known as Master Domo, a Shiya Doman. This guy wasn't even on her radar. How had he shown up? What was wrong with the Akasha system? Characters were just appearing on their own. Could summoning Sakata Kintoki have somehow drawn this guy out? Because Kintoki was connected to a Shiya Doman, but according to the records, Abe Saimai, the most famous Onmyoji of the time, was the one who actually defeated a Shiya Doman. Abe Saimai had originally been on Brunhilde's shortlist, so, back to the question, where the heck was Sakata Kintoki? He didn't come out, but a Shiya Doman did. Was he even supposed to be here? After all, he was a bad guy. Hold on. Brynhild, watching the Akasha surveillance feed, finally understood why she'd had her sister sent through Akasha. She'd been expecting Kintoki, but he hadn't been there when she arrived. Turns out, a Shiya Doman had jumped the line and hijacked her sister. That explained why her sister's tone had been off. She was being controlled. Should she just end this now? Huh. One of the 7 lucky gods, correction, the god now known as Ryafuku, was reacting strangely to a Shiya Doman. He seemed excited, like they knew each other. Maybe they did. Onmyoji were supposed to be able to borrow the power of gods, but the excitement wasn't the friendly kind. It was more like the heated rivalry of enemies meeting face to face. You're not Sakata Kintoki, are you? The announcer, Heimdall, asked tentatively, careful not to sound rude. Who knew how powerful this human might be? He didn't want to get on his bad side. More importantly, this guy gave him the creeps, like a classic villain. Actually, he was a villain. Heimdall had just pulled up his file. What makes you think this humble monk is that kid? The man's seemingly gentle eyes suddenly turned sharp, making Heimdall break out in a cold sweat. As for that guy, this humble monk told him to be quiet. He pointed behind him. Heimdall peered into the passage and saw a figure tied up and dangling at the end. Heimdall couldn't help but twitch. What kind of artistic bondage and gagging was that? Then, a Shiya Doman hopped off the palanquin and gestured for it to be removed from the arena. Okay, time to announce the start. Huh. This humble monk said it's time to announce the start. Right now, was this really happening? A last-minute change of fighters? It didn't look like Brunhilde approved, but this human was taking charge. Heimdall was thoroughly embarrassed. But what? Hurry up and announce it. The shout startled Heimdall. He looked behind him and saw Ryafuku, the representative of the gods, was the one yelling. Ryafuku was furious, glaring daggers at a Shiya Doman. I never expected you to still be alive, your soul not destroyed. This is perfect. Ryafuku spat, his voice dripping with murderous intent. So, they did know each other. From the Heian era? Heimdall saw Ryafuku clench his fist so hard his back muscles contorted. Then, like pulling plasticine, Ryafuku stretched the flesh from his back, drawing out a massive black axe. I'll kill you. Chop you to pieces. Gut you. Dismember you. Ryafuku glared at Heimdall, making him jump again. the look in his eyes said it all. This wasn't just a match, it was personal, but, what was this? A message from the Valkyries stated that Ashia Doman would be fighting in the battle, but, what was this? The gods also sent a message. The battle hadn't started, so no need to change fighters. Since neither side objected, Heimdall wasn't going to argue. Time to prepare for war. The final battle between man and god, the third round. This seems to be a battle of destiny. Which side will prevail? Will the gods make a comeback? Or will humanity secure a 3-game winning streak? Now then, let the battle begin. Chapter 93. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Heian era, Gray learned something that didn't quite line up with the history books. Everyone said Master Domo lost to Abe Saimai, but she saw it the other way around. Abe Saimai lost, so, why was Abe Saimai considered Master Domo's enemy? Was it just because they served different masters? That wasn't the main reason. The real reason was that Master Domo attacked a demon fox, and that made Abe Saimai turn against him. But Abe Saimai had also defeated demons, so why was he so protective of this particular demon fox? Was it even a good demon fox? No. Gray saw this demon fox causing all sorts of trouble, the reason for Abe Saimai's favoritism. He was the son of a demon fox. Abe Saimai, after his defeat by Master Domo, even called upon the power of the 8 million gods, summoning the 7 lucky gods to earth, but the 7 lucky gods were no match for Master Domo. He tricked them, manipulated them, and even turned them against other gods. So, was Master Domo a bad guy? Was Abe Saimai a good guy? Right now, it seemed Abe Saimai was selfish, and Master Domo did whatever he pleased, good or evil. One day, Abe Saimai challenged him to a rematch. If he lost, he'd hand over his status and the entire country to Master Domo. Of course, Master Domo accepted the challenge. No matter how evil Ashiya Michimitsu had been, she eagerly awaited the evil Onmyoji's performance, and it was clear how powerful Master Domo was. Hadn't they seen Sakata Kintoki all tied up? That proved Sakata Kintoki was outmatched, plus, he could control his Valkyrie sister. Even though she was only a demigod, that was still an incredible feat. Brunhilde was even more surprised by Ling Fu's reaction. He wanted to tear him apart. That suggested Ling Fu had suffered a serious defeat at the hands of Ashiya Michimitsu, creating such intense hatred. So, the moment Heimdall announced the start of the fight, Ryofuku charged Ashiya Doman, and with one swing, the giant axe seemed to tear him in half. Was it an instant knockout? No. The Ashiya Michimitsu who'd been split in two turned into a paper doll. The real Ashiya Michimitsu appeared above Ling Fu's head without warning. Bastard! Ling Fu swung his axe at his head, but only cut paper. What bad luck! So unfortunate. Ashiya Michimitsu's voice echoed from all directions, because he was everywhere. I'll tear you to pieces. Ling Fu wildly swung the giant axe, shredding the hateful Onmyoji in front of him. The more I fight, the more paper figures appear, which makes me more and more unlucky. Ling Fu seemed to be crying, throwing a childish tantrum. This is, Brunhilde frowned, because Ling Fu's axe was getting bigger and bigger, and his attack speed was increasing exponentially. Her phone buzzed. She checked it. To read exciting novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. I see. It was information about Rei Fukuxin. This god absorbed misfortune to make himself stronger, and every failed attack, every missed hit, that was all misfortune for Rei Fuku. Therefore, he'd absorbed the misfortune and become stronger. In the blink of an eye, the arena was covered in shredded paper. Ashiya Michimitsu seemed to be running out of substitutes, or couldn't create them fast enough to keep up with Ling Fu. Then, Ashiya Michimitsu snapped his fingers. Instantly, all the scraps of paper began to glow. The ground writhed, and a horde of tiny, two-headed Ashiya Michimitsu-like figures appeared. The swarm rushed towards Ryofuku. Ryofuku, naturally, swung his giant axe. Boom! A massive explosion rocked the arena, not just from Ling Fu hitting the ground too hard, but from an actual explosion. Like a bomb, black smoke and dust filled the air, obscuring Ling Fu's vision. The next second, something broke through the smoke and latched onto Ling Fu. It was the little figures, they glowed and gave a weak, sinister smile. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. These are all suicide bombers. Heimdall swallowed hard, noticing two of the figures hugging his feet, giving him the same creepy smile. He broke out in a cold sweat, but those two didn't explode, not where Ling Fu was. The explosions were happening all around him. Suddenly, Heimdall's eyes widened, and he retreated quickly. The remaining suicide dolls swarmed towards Ling Fu. Boom! A deafening blast and a terrifying shockwave slammed into Heimdall, sending him crashing into the wall below the stands. He stood up, wincing, and rubbed his sore back. He looked towards the center of the explosion. A cloud of black smoke hung in the air. When it cleared, Ling Fu stood inside a massive crater, scarred and battered, but radiating an even more terrifying aura. The weapon in his hand had changed, now resembling a dozen giant axes fused together. What bad luck, that he shouted again. Ling Fu spun 360 degrees, and the giant axe followed suit, slicing through the arena. A huge chunk of the battlefield crumbled away. Then, with a clap of his hands, a Shiya Michimitsu landed lightly on Ling Fu's weapon. He didn't seem to have been hit at all. He'd been toying with Ling Fu from the very beginning. If this is all the misfortune you possess, then it ends here. As a Shiya Michimitsu spoke, day turned into night in an instant. Chapter 94. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Horus, the second of the 13 Valkyries, was glued to the live feed of the third round of Ragnarok. Right now, it looked like humanity had a real shot at winning, but Ashiya Michitoshi's taunting was making her nervous. If he's got the power to take Ling Fu down, he should just do it. End the fight already. All this constant poking and prodding, wouldn't that just make a special god like Ling Fu even stronger? She was worried it could turn the whole thing around. Suddenly, the Akasha system pinged, and Horus jumped. Gray had told her about the two near misses when she went with Brunhilde, how the king of that era almost caught them. Her older sister Brynhild, and the first emperor, never said anything, but Randy Grace's reaction made it clear, something crazy had happened, so, she was on edge. Wondering what had happened to her little sister, with a flash, Gray materialized in front of her. It looked like she'd been tossed out. She landed hard on her rear end, letting out a small oof. Welcome back, Gray. Ah. Yeah, I'm back. Gray visibly relaxed. This time, no drama. She rubbed her butt, stood, and brushed herself off. So, what's the score? Still on round 3. Or is it over? That she heard Heimdall's voice and looked up to see the live broadcast. On one side was a god who looked like a kid, wielding some giant weapon. On the other was a guy in an Onmyoji outfit. Wait a second, he looked familiar. Huh? What's up? Horus, isn't that a Shiya Demitsu? Gray was confused. Why would Brunhild send that evil mage out there? Shouldn't it be Sakata Kintoki? Was this even round 3? Hey, is this round 3? Yep. Then what's he doing out there? Shouldn't it be Sakata Kintoki? Substitute. Huh? A substitute? Just like that? Don't get on my nerves. If you want to know why, ask Brunhilde. Whoa, Gray flinched at the sudden burst of impatience from her sister. A second later, her sister was calm again. The other one is Ling Fu. She went on to explain who the god was, but who was Ling Fu? She'd never heard of him. Gray didn't dare ask. She didn't want another dose of her sister's mood swings. Oh, you might not know. Ling Fu is actually the true form of the 7 lucky gods. They're really one god, not 7. Gentle Horus said this, and watched as her sister's face went white. It was the sky is falling look. What? Ling Fu is the 7 lucky gods. No, this is terrible. This is the worst possible matchup. This is bad. We have to stop this now. Ashiya Michitoshi is going to pull that stunt again. We have to stop him. Gray, having lived through history, had accidentally caught a glimpse of Ashiya Michitoshi's big scheme, and it involved the 7 lucky gods. The scheme had been stopped while she was alive, now it was happening again, in the Ragnarok arena, with the 7 lucky gods as the opponent. What a messed up coincidence. Scheme. What scheme? He wants to break the seal on the Tianjin Urn Star God, but that's just the start of a nightmare. Gray was freaking out. Tianjin Urn Star God? Who's that? Horist frowned. She'd never heard of him. Still, the Tianjin part gave her a clue. This god must be from the other pantheon. Right, we need to get in touch with Brunhilde, ASAP. Got it. Horist immediately tried to call her sister. Sis, Gray said, click. She hung up, she tried again. Sister, something huge happened, Gray, she hung up again, and then just started ignoring the calls. Horist sighed. Brunhilde probably thought Gray was just going to whine, or that whatever Gray called huge was just kid stuff. It was like a total solar eclipse. The sun gets blocked, but if you looked closely, the dimming wasn't just about the sun's light being blocked. It was like the sun itself had turned black, radiating darkness, tricking you into thinking night was swallowing the day. But why did this black sun hanging over the arena feel so twisted? It felt alive. What exactly is that thing? Humans can summon some seriously scary stuff. Wait, that feeling. Could it be that the faces of some people from both pantheons paled as they sensed a familiar aura coming from that sun? It was the aura of 2 dark gods who disappeared without explanation 1,000 years ago. It was suspected that they escaped because he was the dark god who controlled misfortune. He was especially worried about this kind of god messing up, so he can be said to be in a half-surveillance and half-detention state. Why use the word escape? Because the dark gods who control misfortune are particularly prone to causing trouble. They're usually kept under close watch, more like half-detention than anything else. They didn't expect to feel the aura of these 2 people in this black sun. Brunhilde frowned as well. She also heard the gods talking, but that wasn't why she was worried. After the black sun appeared, the audience's mood shifted. Most noticeably, they became gloomy, muttering about every bad thing that had ever happened to them. How unfortunate. Even Ling Fu started saying how unlucky he was. It was spreading like a disease, and Ling Fu was soaking up the misfortune, turning it into energy, but it was Ashiya Michitoshi who had created this atmosphere. Did he know what Ling Fu was capable of? It seemed he did. He must have known, and was doing this on purpose. Was he trying to make Ling Fu stronger? She was starting to feel uneasy. Don't let her side make trouble. Chapter 95. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Those guys need to get a move on. He needs to turn up the heat. Ling Fu's shoulders were shaking. He wasn't just feeling his own misery. He could sense the misfortune of everyone around him. The cause of their suffering was the smirking Onmyoji in front of him. The guy thought Ling Fu was too weak, so he was ramping things up. Quit looking down on me, Ling Fu roared, face twisted. The massive, multi-layered axe in his hand morphed again. This time, the weapon transformed into a swarm of blades, tearing through the air as if alive, and speeding across the arena to kill that damned Yin-Yang master. I'll shred you. No, shredding wasn't enough. He wanted to turn him to dust. For a moment, the entire arena was filled with invisible blades. Anything that entered would be pulverized before it hit the ground. Reduced to powder. Why are you looking at me like that? Heimdall panicked. Why was Ling Fu glaring at him with murderous intent, like he wanted to tear him into pieces? The next moment, Heimdall screamed as a wave of cold light washed over him, but... Am I okay? No, something happened to his shadow. His shadow was sliced off, and it was trying to escape. His shadow was separated from him. Could it please not run toward him? Boom! The shadow was crushed by a giant hammer 10 times its size. When the hammer lifted, nothing remained but shattered ground. Wait, black sun. Ling Fu started to understand, and a cruel expression spread across his face. The hammer changed again, morphing into a huge knife with a pieced-together blade. He swung it fiercely, and the blade extended, slashing toward the black sun in the sky, but the black sun seemed solid, unbreakable. The tip of the knife only sank in a few inches. Wait, the black sun was forcing the blade out of the wound. No, that wasn't it, a figure emerged from the black sun, gripping the blade, Ashiya Michitoshi, Ryofuku's hated enemy. Just as Ling Fu was about to attack, he realized, shocked, that he was flying toward Ashiya Michitoshi. What was happening? After a moment of stunned confusion, he understood. Ashiya Michitoshi had pulled the blade, dragging him off the ground. Seeing Ashiya Michitoshi right in front of him, Ryofuku grinned savagely and swung a fist. Boom! A loud, echoing thump. Boom! Like a giant cannon shell hitting the ground. As the smoke cleared, a man with the character Fu etched on his face, Ling Fu, lay in the center of a massive crater. This time, he had actually touched the Onmyoji, but the Onmyoji had landed the first blow, deforming half of his face. Sighed. The hateful Onmyoji, floating in front of the black sun, sighed again. His condescending, contemptuous attitude twisted Ling Fu's deformed face even further. Really, 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 really. He muttered the words over and over. Has this guy snapped? Why'd they pick such a loser? Hey, has anyone noticed something's off around here? That the Shenfang audience couldn't stand Ling Fu's performance. Some of the gods were telling them to pay attention to their surroundings, because everyone was feeling depressed, even though Ling Fu was getting pummeled, which was frustrating. The frustration was excessive. This is super unlucky, he roared, and Ling Fu, who had been lying down, suddenly stood up. At the same time, a terrifying black aura erupted from his body, sweeping outward. Whoa! Heimdall yelped, startled by the sudden burst of black aura. It wasn't a physical impact, but a black mist that washed over him. But nothing happened, just as he was about to add some commentary to liven things up. This is so unfortunate. He suddenly knelt, sounding hopeless. He wasn't the only one, many people in the audience were doing the same. Ling Fu's misfortune is infecting them, and he's absorbing the misfortune they cause. This is really... Hermes clicked his tongue. This ability was seriously broken, so what was the other guy up to? The current Ling Fu was completely different from the one a second ago. What was this Onmyoji planning to do, pushing him this far? Was he just trying to get his opponent to unleash his true power? Was he enjoying this? I'll just eat you. As Ling Fu snarled those words, his artifact shifted again. It moved to his back, sticking to it, then expanded outward into 8 huge legs, making him look like a giant, long-legged spider. His feet were huge and lined with sharp blades. The 8 giant legs bent, then launched him upward with terrifying force, making the entire arena feel like it was sinking. Gotcha! The 8 huge feet wrapped around the black sun, blades piercing its surface. With a flash of light, countless sharp thorns jutted from the black sun, turning it into a kind of hedgehog ball. And these spikes weren't Ashiya Domitsu's counterattack, they were Ryofu's weapons. He had launched countless spikes into the black sun in an instant. Caught me? No, I caught you. The casual voice startled Ling Fu, and his expression changed. The black sun seemed to have locked onto his weapons. Even if he wanted to change them or make them disappear, he couldn't. He was stuck to the black sun. So, bon appetit, that the other guy wanted to eat his body. Chapter 96. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sound of rapid footsteps echoed down the spiral staircase. Gray's anxiety grew as she stared up at the seemingly endless staircase. I have to warn Brunhild about the evil mage's plot before it's too late. Suddenly, a spot of light appeared ahead, the exit. In a flash, she was in the arena's top corridor and spotted Brunhild. Gray, brace yourself. The next thing Gray knew, she was airborne. Flying. Gray was stunned. She wasn't flying. Horist had grabbed her and chucked her out. Whoa, Brunhild! She screamed, tears welling up. Brunhild, hearing her screams, sidestepped without even looking, and then... Boom! Gray's face made intimate contact with a nearby pillar, prompting another shriek. That hurt. Brunhild, why'd you move? Gray whined, rubbing her nose, tears streaming down her face. Ignoring her completely, Brunhild gazed at the arena with an excited expression. The arena? And why is everyone looking so weird? Why are they talking about misfortune, Ugh, why am I so unlucky? Gray mumbled, her face falling, tears welling up as she replayed her day. Oh no, that evil Onmyoji said something about starting soon and eating 0. Blessing. Bad news, star. Brunhild, we have to stop this match. He's going to eat Ling Fu. Gray cried out, her sister remained unfazed. Seriously, this isn't a joke. He's plotting something. He wants to break the seal on the Tianjin Urn Star God. Oh. The Tianjin Urn Star God. The unfamiliar name made Brunhild glance at her sister. Who's that? Well, I don't know all the details, but in the vision I just saw, Master Susanoo said it was an evil god who nearly destroyed their pantheon. The information was limited, but it was enough to be alarming. Nearly destroyed their pantheon, huh? Brunhild's expression turned serious. An evil god capable of that kind of destruction is incredibly dangerous. That's interesting, but what's it got to do with me? Huh? Gray was dumbfounded. Wouldn't unleashing an evil god be a terrible thing? Why was her sister so indifferent? But, sister. Gray. Yes, ma'am. The sharp tone snapped Gray to attention, standing ramrod straight like a soldier. Haven't you figured out where you stand yet? What do you mean? Gray was confused. Whose side are you on? Humanity or the gods? After a moment of stunned silence, Gray understood why her sister was angry. She realized Brunhild didn't care about the evil Onmyoji and his plans to unleash some terrible evil god. As long as humanity won, her sister didn't care what he released. It would just give the gods a headache, which was something she'd enjoy. I'm on humanity's side. Gray answered quietly, for humanity's victory, I, as a trainee Valkyrie, have to be prepared to sacrifice everything, maybe even my life. But the gods aren't all bad. Gods like Hercules love humans. I just can't accept the idea of good, innocent gods getting caught in the crossfire and accidentally losing their lives, star. What the heck is that? The announcer Heimdall's exclamation drew Gray's attention. The black sun was absorbing Ling Fu's power. No, it was doing more than that. It was devouring his misfortune. Ling Fu was completely engulfed by the black sun, and then a new figure emerged, Ashiya Michitoshi. He was now surrounded by a terrifying aura of darkness that seemed to writhe with countless curses. The result of absorbing so much misfortune, apparently. Let's get this show on the road. Ashiya Michitoshi announced, spreading his arms wide. The black sun behind him erupted in a blinding flash of light. When Gray could see again, the black sun had vanished. The duel seemed to be over, but some of the gods felt a deep sense of unease. Suddenly, day turned into night in the blink of an eye. Someone realized the sun was being blocked, then, night turned back into day. The cycle repeated until the cause was clear, a solar eclipse. What's going on? Did Ashiya Michitoshi cause this? Suddenly, day and night vanished completely, replaced by a starry sky. A massive planet loomed in the sky, as if it was about to crash into them. That's Venus, right? Not only was Venus dangerously close, but other stars were also aligning in a straight line. It had to be intentional. Ashiya Michitoshi was holding a miniature solar system in his hands, 8 planets aligned with the black sun. This guy is manipulating the cosmos in ways I can't even imagine. 9 stars in a row. Chapter 97. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Manipulating the stars to align all the planets with the sun. That's insane. Totally unheard of. Way too over the top. Is he seriously moving the stars into a straight line and shrinking the distance between them? How else could we see those massive stars so clearly? The sheer size of it all made everyone feel like they were weighed down, breaking out in a cold sweat. Maybe it's just an illusion, someone suggested, and others quickly agreed. They just couldn't believe the actual stars had been moved, lined up, and pulled so close. Does he think he's a god? Wait, even a god couldn't do something like this, could they? I've never even heard of such a thing, then. No, it's gone. No way. You've got to be kidding me. Some of the gods were sweating bullets, their voices shaking. They looked like they'd seen a ghost, their reaction made the other gods nervous. These particular gods had a connection to certain stars, so they were known as star gods. Now that their stars were suddenly gone, could it be? No way. What's he planning? Brunhild was completely lost. What was the Onmyoji trying to do? Was this star alignment for real? If it was, this Onmyoji had power beyond even the main gods. If he has that kind of power, why bother with unsealing the Urn Star God? It would make sense if the Urn Star God was someone important to him, but what if he's not? What's the angle here? Brunhild glanced at that old geezer, Zeus, whose face had also gone pale. Suddenly, an overwhelming presence made Brunhild jump. She turned to face Odin, the main god of Northern Europe. He had his signature weapon in hand. Before she could finish, the spear transformed into a streak of black light, tearing through the air, aimed straight at Ashiya Domitsu. No, he managed to grab the spear with both hands, desperately deflecting it to keep it from piercing his head. Somehow, in the struggle, the spearhead shifted and plunged into his chest instead. At the same time, Brunhild noticed black flames erupting from Ashiya Machito, flames that had seemed to be turning into smoke and drifting towards the stars. Now, they were being forced back into his body. Ha ha ha, thank you, Odin. Your blow just made my success even more certain. He released his grip, and the spear instantly tore through his chest. It happened so fast, the resulting gust of wind extinguished the black flames on Ashiya Miken's body, revealing a horribly corroded skeleton, and a gaping hole in its chest, courtesy of Odin's spear. What was strange, though, was that the spear, instead of returning to its owner, flew out of the arena and disappeared into the sky like a shooting star. What the heck just happened? Look, what's going on? This is... Could Ashiya Machimi's goal have been to open it? The surface of Venus, the closest star, was undergoing a bizarre transformation. A pentagram structure was emerging. Looking closer, you could see countless pillars on the pentagram, covered in runes. These runes weren't from any single tradition. They encompassed the lore of many different gods. This strange surface was unfamiliar to many of the gods, something they'd never seen before, and this star was dangerous, known to devour gods if they got too close. It was also called the Devil's Star. The faces of the gods who recognized the pentagram grew grim. They realized what Ashiya Michitoshi's purpose had been, to open a special sealed gate located here, a gate that only appeared when the planets in the solar system aligned with the sun. So, the guy really pulled off that astronomical stunt of moving the stars. No way. It's a fake, but I still don't buy it. If he could do all that, he'd just go straight to Venus and open the gate. Is this just an illusion? It seems that way. Except for Venus, all the other stars have vanished like a mirage. Only the sun remains black, and Venus is still eerily close. Speaking of which, where's Earth? Since the heavens share the Earth's coordinates, it's like we're still on Earth, so we won't see the Earth hanging in the sky. That guy almost gave me a heart attack. How could he really pull off that kind of astronomical control? Well, he didn't actually control the stars. But he tricked them, exposing the Devil's Star's eye. The speaker was Shiva, with a tone of grudging admiration. After all, no one had ever pulled off anything like this before. For a human to achieve this was an incredible feat, but because it wasn't a true 9-star alignment, it was weaker. So, what's actually here? The answer: super dangerous, near impossible to eliminate evil gods or apocalyptic beasts, like 666. It's a special kind of divine prison, known to only a select few gods, and this human was trying to break the seal without knowing what he was messing with. Is he arrogant, or just plain reckless? That seal was put in place by a council of gods. How could he be allowed to open it? Huh? What's that? Cold sweat trickled down Odin's face as he stared intently at the Devil's Star. Could something unexpected be happening? Chapter 98. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gungnir, Odin's legendary spear, is said to have a 100% hit rate. Once thrown, it's guaranteed to strike its target with enough force to pierce anything. They call it the meteor spear because it blazes across the sky like one. But after all these years, Odin discovered something odd. the spear didn't actually hit a Shiya Michitoshi. When he threw it, it was supposed to hit a Shiya Doman. It was pure luck that it struck him, not some automatic targeting feature of Gungnir redirecting its aim. After being plucked from the chest it pierced, the spear shot into the sky, never to return. This left Odin dumbfounded. He tried to summon Gungnir back, but the spear's response was that it hadn't hit its target yet and was still heading towards it. Apparently, the weapon can only return once it's made contact, but here's where things get confusing. It didn't actually pierce a Shiya Doman completely, right? Could it be a fake? A stand-in? Did the real guy escape somehow? According to Odin's observation, the person hit was definitely a Shiya Michitoshi. So, Gungnir should have returned after hitting him. Was something triggered when Gungnir pierced a Shiya Michitoshi's chest? Because when it did, it brought out a skull. Then, Gungnir flew straight up, out of the heavens, out of the human world, and into outer space, and its trajectory. Venus. This set off alarm bells in Odin's head. A sudden thought struck him, and he turned to another main god. Susanoo, was a Shiya Michitoshi's body completely destroyed the first time around? If not, where is it now? Odin then understood. The head was real. It was a Shiya Michitoshi's original corpse, not the summoned version. No way. Check it out. The voice on the other end was shocked. What's up? His corpse isn't in the human world. If it's not here, then where is it? Look where Gungnir is headed. But why would his corpse be there? Not just anyone can go there. So, who took his body? Hold on, there's something on the surface. The confused voice came from Heimdall in the arena. He adjusted his goggle-like glasses, he made magnifying gestures in the air, and the image zoomed in. Wait a minute. That looks like something man-made, a human rocket. Well, that's not too weird. Humans are always sending rockets out to explore the solar system, so it wouldn't be a surprise if one crashed on Venus. But, there's something off to the side. Is that a human exploration rover? The camera focused on it, zooming closer and closer. That is. What? Heimdall's eyes nearly popped out of his head. He saw a headless skeleton wearing tattered onmyoji robes emerging from a metal coffin. And didn't it look exactly like the skeleton-looking Shiya Michitoshi that Lord Odin had just killed? What's with that skeleton? Why is a skeleton like that here in Devil's Eye? Is it moving? Is that an onmyoji? Everyone stared at Heimdall in disbelief as he revealed a clearer view, clearly showing the headless skeleton moving. That can't be right. How did it get past the barrier the Lord God set up? To prevent anyone from messing around, they'd created a special barrier, practically indestructible, so, how did it get through without triggering any alarms? Suddenly, someone noticed something. No way. How is this even possible? It got here using human technology. The barrier wouldn't react to a purely human rocket. However, if something inside the rocket contained extraordinary power, the barrier would sense it and reject it. That's when someone noticed a thick metal box, which must have blocked the barrier. So who is this skeleton onmyoji now? Then, considering it was only minutes into the third round of Twilight of the Gods, it hit everyone who this skeleton must be. The gods started to panic. This place was supposed to be sealed tight. Cold sweat trickled down Brunhilde's face. This guy was playing with fire. If what's inside gets released, both the heavens and the human world are screwed. Yeah, that's gotta be it. Gray swallowed hard. This was like something out of the third act of No Zhao. He couldn't imagine what horrors awaited. But it should be okay. As long as the barrier holds, it can't fully unleash its power. Heimdall emphasized the barrier's strength. Inside, it's practically a forbidden magic zone. Even Lord Zeus's power would be suppressed to 1/10 of its usual strength. Even Zeus at full power couldn't destroy the barrier alone, so everyone could relax. There shouldn't be any problems. So, everyone. Before Heimdall could reassure them, his jaw dropped and he trailed off. His eyes bugged out as he squeezed his glasses tighter against his face. A streak of light had fallen from the sky and struck the barrier. Chapter 99. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Originally, everyone was freaking out about how scary Venus was and whether it was safe. Then, just as Heimdall was trying to reassure everyone, bam. A streak of light shot down from the sky. Suddenly, everyone, including Heimdall, went dead silent. Meteorites are always buzzing around in space, so they often crash onto Venus like shooting stars. No biggie, right? Except normal meteorites don't usually set off the planetary shield, but this light. This light smacked the barrier so hard, it started glowing like crazy. The impact blew a hole through the planet's super thick atmosphere, giving everyone a clear view of the shield and the surface. So, yeah, even a blind man could see someone was straight up attacking the barrier, and the barrier wasn't exactly holding up either. After the hit, it flickered like a dying light bulb, which was not a good sign. So, what the heck just attacked it? The camera zoomed in. Is that a freaking gun? And is that a skull jammed into it? Brunhilde, that gun looks like. Gray stammered, wondering if he was hallucinating. You're not wrong. It's the gun you think it is. Brynhilde confirmed. It was the same gun Odin chucked. Was Odin trying to destroy the barrier? Nah, this was a setup. 857 glanced at the head honcho, looking super pissed, which made Brunhilde secretly happy. A bunch of the big boss gods were grilling him about the situation. Looks like Yase got played by Ashiya Michitoshi. That gun must be headed straight for Ashiya Michitoshi's real-world corpse, but to hit the corpse, the barrier had to go, click, star.o, crap, a crack just appeared in the barrier. Then, like glass shattering, the whole thing exploded. This was a barrier that even Zeus couldn't bust through with all his might, and it just got smashed by Odin's weapon. Seriously? It wasn't that Odin was stronger than Zeus, but Odin's weapon was uniquely suited for the job. The gun plummeted to the ground and nailed Ashiya Michitoshi's body again, then vanished. Mission accomplished. At the same time, a ton of stuff started raining down from the sky, countless paper talismans, the same ones Ashiya Michitoshi used. These talismans were just blank pieces of paper, waiting for a rune to be drawn on them. Without power, they were just paper. But now, with Ashiya Michitoshi's body impaled and that skull stuck in there, things were different. Darkness exploded from his empty eye sockets and open mouth. The papers hit the ground, and the ground warped like the paper was melting it. The whole surface started squirming, like quicksand, and then something started taking shape. A bunch of dolls. They were the two-headed doll bombs Ashiya Michitoshi used in the third round of the Human God Showdown. Seeing a horde of self-destructing doll bombs made everyone swallow hard. One of them was huge, like a mountain, and it contained Ashiya Michitoshi's corpse. Suddenly, they all looked up at the sky, as if they were staring at the gods across the void. Then, they gave these goofy, angry grins, and their bodies started glowing. In an instant, everything was swallowed by white light. Zooming out, you could see a massive explosion rocking the demon star, and the resulting smoke and dust was getting sucked into a terrifying dark vortex. The gods saw undead-like ghosts and monster figures swirling in the vortex, feeling a killing intent that sent chills down their spines. Then, the picture glitched out and died. The arena went completely silent. Boom. Star. The arena shook as Zeus slammed his staff into the ground. Everyone looked towards the noise. What are you all panicking about? Scared? When did the gods become such wimps? Has this long peace erased all the violence from your hearts? Have you become weak sheep? After Zeus said this, the gods fell even more silent. Suddenly, their shoulders started shaking and they each roared. No way. If they want to fight, let's fight. The victor has not been decided many years ago, but this time we have to settle it completely with that guy. War, war, war. The gods became war fanatics, which freaked out the human audience. But don't worry, war isn't starting just yet. Whatever was released isn't stupid enough to attack immediately. It was imprisoned, much of its body was destroyed, leaving only a soul that could not be compared to its heyday. These guys will definitely hide for a while before causing trouble, but the final battle between humans and gods is still on. Don't worry, it's business as usual. Anything that hinders this interesting duel will be crushed. God Wang Xing, let your body bathe in the long-lost sunshine. Of course, if humans are exposed to direct sunlight, it will be fatal. After all, this is Venus, and the atmosphere above has been blown away. When he finally came out, of course he wanted revenge on Susanoo and others. A bunch of despicable bastards took everything from him. Ha ha ha, it's still like this. Zero blessing, right? You came up with this thing and want to replace him. And he is originally the god in charge of blessings and misfortunes. And this so-called Ling Fu, in a sense, is also him. So after he came out of the seal and was not blocked, everything about Ling Fu returned to him. What a poor guy. He was also played by Susanoo. Also, he also learned something more interesting. Is this the final battle between humans and gods? But he was a little confused. Did the Onmyoji destroy the seal here just to cause chaos? It feels like the purpose is more than just this. Then, what is that? Some guys looked at the sky in astonishment, and Wang Xingshan opened his closed eyes and was stunned. Have human beings developed to this level? An extremely huge metal creation was suspended in the sky. Above. If you look carefully, it doesn't look like it's flying from somewhere in the universe, but rather appearing from another space. Correction, it's the sky in another space that is connected to the sky here, so you can see the sky in that space. This behemoth. Chapter 100. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom. The earth bucked and rolled with a thunderous crash. The impact zone was devastated, the landscape utterly torn apart. At the center of the crater sprawled a notorious beast. It was a colossal, 7-headed, 10-horned monster, each of its 7 heads crowned. It had brought down countless gods, and we're talking multiple pantheons here, not just a few deities. That gives you some idea of the kind of power we're dealing with. This nearly unkillable thing had been sealed away in the devil's eye on Venus. Even when he was at his peak, Wang Xingshan wouldn't have bet on winning against this nightmare, and that's just based on the power it showed before being sealed. So, was it even stronger before its imprisonment? Apparently not. According to Wang Xingshan, the monster seemed to have regained its strength long ago. It just couldn't break free, and now, this powerhouse was being pummeled, beaten black and blue, until finally, it broke down and cried. It stopped resisting and accepted the heavy collar and chains. All the other apocalyptic beasts had been subdued as well. Any troublemakers were eliminated. Those that couldn't be killed faced fates worse than death. Many evil gods who disobeyed orders were also brutally dispatched. Most were obliterated by firepower that made the stars scream. The smart ones ran, but they were cut off. Only a handful of figures, including Wang Xingshan, were left alone, untouched by the onslaught. They were being given a chance to surrender before being attacked. They played along, waiting to see what would happen. When the dust settled, they had no choice but to go along with it. After entering the massive metal structure, they watched the space portal close and the demon star, which had been their prison for eons, disappear from view. They were beyond confused. It was like escaping one hell only to be tossed into another. Something's off, Wang Xingshan murmured, staring at the starscape outside. It didn't feel like a typical divine realm, but more like the actual main universe. But if it was the main universe, it was awfully bleak. There wasn't a single star to be seen. Is that Earth? That the voice came from a notoriously malevolent, headless evil god beside him, who spoke from a navel mouth. It was Xingtian, the demon god who had once challenged the Yellow Emperor, repeatedly broken his seals, and was finally tossed here to rot. The Earth he was talking about was the planet we know as Earth today. Sure enough, it was Earth. But it wasn't the planet itself that shocked them. It was something else entirely. Is this heaven? Wang Xingshan had never been to the heavenly court, so he assumed this was Xingtian's divine domain, but this heaven was weird. The whole vibe was off, especially those massive metal contraptions orbiting the planet. What were those things? I don't remember heaven looking like this, Xingtian said, equally bewildered. After being sealed for so long, things had clearly changed. Changed a lot, to the point of being unrecognizable. Were they trying to copy Earth? No, this wasn't heaven, not the heaven he knew under the Yellow Emperor's rule. Their hosts had claimed to be affiliated with the Qin Empire, and from what he could tell, there was no hint of that carefree immortal vibe. When they landed and saw a sprawling city teeming with ordinary humans, they were even more stunned. The World Tree. It feels different. There was something strange about it. It wasn't that something was built into the world tree, but the tree itself felt different. It was like a watered-down version of the world tree in the main world. This way, please. His Majesty the First Emperor is expecting you, a soldier encased in strange machinery told them, the First Emperor. So, he was in charge here. The First Emperor. That's an interesting title, sure meaning first or beginning. An emperor. He must have taken those two words from the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors. Xingtian wanted to see if this guy could live up to the name. As they approached the massive metal structure hovering over Xianying City, Xingtian felt an invisible pressure, a pressure that made him want to submit. When he entered the main hall and saw the figure on the throne, his fearless gaze locked onto the emperor. He snapped back to reality, covered in sweat. This first emperor exuded a sense of dominance that surpassed even the yellow emperor. He knew he was no match. Their eyes had met, they had dueled, and he had lost. This wasn't some fairyland. There was nothing familiar about it. The only thing he saw was humans. Then, the first emperor revealed the purpose of their summons, and Xingtian was floored. Those ancient gods who had been driven away in the distant, chaotic past were about to return, but what shocked Xingtian even more was that heaven was gone. Those guys had found a new universe, moved there, and abandoned everyone here. That's why the great Qin Empire, the first emperor, was so shocking. The title of first emperor was well earned. Now alone in the hall, he was looking at information that had been obtained. He has a massive appetite. He not only wanted to return, he was also looking at another universe. Of course, this universe is not his small universe, but a complete other world. Chapter 101. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The universe they're really after isn't just some small corner of reality, but a whole, complete world. Right now, we don't have a ton of intel on it. Here's the thing, they didn't just send their own people in to sneak around. Instead, they created these other gods, ones that don't seem to connect to Earth's mythology at all, and these gods are now infiltrating that world, stirring things up, causing chaos, and creating opportunities for the other side to exploit. The kicker. It's another Earth, a parallel world, but it's not some run-of-the-mill, boring place like my original world. If it were that ordinary, they'd just waltz in and take over. So, there's clearly some powerful force over there that they have to worry about. That 9-to-5 power is a god, and get this, they seem to have a similar mythological setup to ours. Intel says their biggest obstacle, their strongest god, is dead. 3 major powers are at war over the remains. The origin of that dead god surprised by you, because an identical god here is basically his archenemy. That's why we need more intel. We need to know how deep they've dug in over there, so we don't trip and fall. We don't want to target what looks like a sweet deal, only to find out it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. If we're not careful, we could provoke an invasion. So, how do we get the intel we need? 3 straight losses have made things pretty tense here at the gods' quarters. Boom! The crash startled Ares, and he looked at Shiva, who had nearly smashed the table to bits. Zeus, I'm up for the 4th round. Shiva had reached his limit. It wasn't just the humiliation of losing 3 times, but also his own battlelust, bubbling and threatening to boil over. This time, nobody was taking his shot at getting in the ring. It depends on if you're up to it. If you win, you're in. If you lose, you watch from the sidelines. No problem here. Zeus shrugged, not objecting. To be honest, he was just as fired up as Shiva, ready to go himself. The pressure was getting to him, and he felt ready to lose control. Odin, any objections? Shiva smirked and looked at Odin, who had snatched the chance away from him before. That guy's something else. Beelzebub, Odin's choice for the 2nd round, screwed up big time. And then, in the 3rd round, he let the humans take advantage of a scheme, which opened the demon star's demon eye, sealed land, and now all those super dangerous types are running loose. So, a lot of gods were wondering if Odin was stirring up trouble on purpose, maybe because Thor was killed, and he was trying to get back at humans, and that's why he caused all that mess in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. I mean, who else would benefit from releasing that kind of danger? It would also affect humans. Well, no objections, right? Then the 4th round is. I'll take it. But who had the nerve to step up and fight him? Shiva, his face a mask of fury, glared at the one who had spoken. Hades, god of the underworld. What was that? I didn't quite catch it. Say it again. Shiva said with a smile, radiating an aura of pure menace that caused cold sweat to break out on the foreheads of all the gods standing, save for the seated main gods. I want the fourth round. Hades replied, staring back at him with a small smile. He also unleashed his own power. The air crackled, and the whole space seemed to tremble. Click, click, click. The table couldn't withstand the clash of their powers, and something was about to give. In a heartbeat, cracks spread across its surface, and then it shattered into pieces. Let's fight, winner takes it. Shiva clenched his fists, knuckles cracking. I'm game. Hades answered, rising to his feet. Whoa, hold on, Master Hades. Ares, his faithful follower, tried to intervene. If this were the first match, Ares wouldn't have hesitated to stop him. He was sure Hades would win, and even if he got injured, he could wipe out the humans with a single breath, but this was the fourth match. The gods' quarters had already lost 3, and those humans were no joke, not at all. What are you saying? That I should back down and give it to him? Those words froze Ares in place, as he felt a hint of danger in Hades's gaze. If he said the wrong thing, he'd be a dead man. No, that's not it. Then shut your mouth. Yes, sir. Standing ramrod straight, Ares responded like a soldier getting a direct order. Huh? Suddenly, someone else stood up, and Ares started to sweat again. It was Odin, the main god of Norse mythology. Are you kidding me? Is he going to try and compete for the fourth round too? As he stood, both Hades and Shiva gave him dangerous looks. However, Odin didn't even glance at them. He simply spoke and turned to leave. In a flash, Odin was back in his private lounge. Wait. Just as he was about to raise his hand, a panicked voice rang out from the shadows. My master wants to speak with you. Odin said nothing. Then he watched as the figure produced a panel, which lit up to reveal a figure sitting at the far end of a temple hall, obscured by the light. The figure then spoke of the third round and how fun and exciting it had been. They also cast a few hints and suspicions about the third round being the work of the speaker. Finally, the real purpose came to light, and the betrayer handed over a box. If you have an interest in artifacts, I hope you can examine this thing if you have the chance. What's this? Odin frowned, glancing into the box. 10 rings. It's a special artifact from a certain divine system. A certain divine system? 10 rings. That divine system, and those 10 rings, couldn't belong to him. They couldn't be the 10 rings he left behind in his lifetime. Had they found them?